Episode 33.
We don't have all of the resources, and we shouldn't try to be an IBM or a Lockheed Martin. What we need to do is learn to team with each other, learn to value each other's resources and then fulfill that agency's mission as a team. And that's the powerhouse of small business.
Welcome to the Govcon Giants Podcast, federal contracting for people on the outside looking in. If you are here to learn how to win a piece of the pie without getting your face smashed in, then you've tuned in to the right place. Now, the giant that not only walks the walk, but talks the talk, your host, Eric Coffey.
What's interesting is I do not know a single person that's been in more publications discussing, advocating, preaching the government contracting message more than Lourdes Martin-Rosa. As a government contracting advisor, she's been featured in over 790 media publications, including Fox News, MSNBC, CNN Money, The Washington Post, The New York Times, hosts a monthly blog on GovWin and Money Inc. magazine. She is the president and founder of Government Business Solutions, a graduate of the 8A program, chairperson of the lead program and former advisor on government contracting for American Express. In 2012, Lourdes served as a small business programs expert guiding the White House Small Business Taskforce towards increasing awareness and outreach to small businesses across America. From 2009 to 2019, she spearheaded the development of the American Express Open for government contracting and Grow Global programs. She also served as WIPP's national partner, where she promoted advocacy among women-owned businesses through the Small Business Administration, American Express, and WIPP's Challenger co-sponsored program. Those combined efforts connected over 150,000 small businesses, resulting in more than $8.3 billion in contract awards. Her small business advocacy efforts were recognized in 2016 when Lourdes received an award of excellence from the White House Senior Advisor to the President, Valerie Jarrett, and the SBA Administrator, Maria Condresa Sweet. The remarkable part of the story is I remember reading about the American Express Open program. I remember WIPP, but I never knew who was behind it all. And today we get to hear directly from the source of how that partnership formed and the incredible story and journey that ensued as a result. We'd like to welcome to the stage our next Govcon giant, Lourdes Martin-Rosa. Govcon Giants, you are listening to a conversation between myself and Lourdes Martin-Rosa of Government Business Solutions. Lourdes, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's my pleasure. And I am very happy to be on this podcast with you.
Thank you. No, we're happy to have you. It's interesting because, again, I started my federal journey back in 2007. And a lot of things that you built and created and worked on, I mean, I saw them from afar, right? And now to get a chance to actually have the person who was behind that, pushing the whole movement is definitely an honor and a privilege. So thank you today for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks, Patricia, for connecting us together.
Oh, Patricia was...
She was part of that.
She was part of the movement and a very, very strong marketer and believer in the word no just means getting closer to the yes.
Okay, wow.
And that's what you have to do.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. So, I was reading about you and we were kind of talking offline a little bit. It says you've been featured in over 790 media publications, including Fox, MSNBC, CNN, Washington Post, the New York Times. Is that accurate?
That is. Actually, it's about 793 right now.
Wow.
I had the pleasure of actually speaking, and I started my business in 2003. And previously to that, I used to work with the United States Chamber of Commerce. How I got tapped into this industry was they wanted to connect with Hispanic businesses as they were growing really fast at that time and wanted to make them aware of the benefits and the growth opportunities they could have in government contracting.
Okay.
So I did that program for about 2 years, traveled around the United States, educating many Hispanic businesses and joining different Hispanic organizations to be able to speak and make them all aware about this. And of course, engage them as U.S. Chambers of Commerce members. But then many of the businesses kept reaching back out to me and saying, well, can you support me with the different SBA programs? This is, very difficult for me to understand. This is a totally different language. Can you help me? So I started helping them as a consultant on the side, which then became a consulting in business in 2003, and that's where Government Business Solutions was born.
Okay.
And the nice thing is that I helped so many businesses beforehand that they now then became my clients.
Wow. Okay.
And started hand-holding them and helping them engage in government contracting. Never represented anyone without the business owner by my side, because I always believe I did not want to be the labeled sales rep or marketing rep for them. Right. I just wanted to connect them, guide them, and help them in opening the door for them to be able to move forward.
Okay.
Patricia Bonilla from Lunacon was one of them. I met Patricia, I think back in 2006, 2007.
Okay.
And she was a single mom with 3 children, working out of her garage. Mm-hmm. She knew that her business was going to be successful because she had a passion in the construction industry and in the design build industry of helping organizations and now helping government agencies achieve the requirements that they need.
Right.
So I basically said, you qualify for a government contracting business development program that's called 8A.
Okay.
Now, the number 8 and the letter A. This is just one of SBA's business development program, and I think one of the most advantageous. It is a small disadvantaged business certification. Minorities qualify. Women in several distressed industries qualify. Anglo women and also even Anglo men may qualify that are in non-American society working areas. So it's not an all-minority certification program, but it is one that Patricia qualified for. I helped her achieve her certification, and then she was, okay, Lourdes, where are we going to go? I need to meet people. I need to go. I go, no, slow down. There's thousands and thousands of government agencies out there.
Right.
There's $500 billion that they spend annually. About $100 billion of that goes to small business. Mm-hmm. Let's start now creating a capture plan.
Okay.
Let's start identifying those top 5 agencies for you to go after, and then let's create a marketing plan and let's go after the business. Well, we did that. A couple of visits to DC, and here she was. She got her first contract with USDA, and it was Department of Agriculture. And it was a small contract, but then you know how it is. You build that relationship with those program managers and contracting officers, and that one became another one and became another one. And then here she is, a very nice, firm with about 60 employees today, and doing very, very well in the federal industry.
Yes.
But I was lucky that...
Actually, her episode releases tomorrow.
Oh, great.
Yes,
Great.
Yes. Her episode
very
releases
excited
tomorrow.
to hear that.
Yes. Continue.
One of the things that I always tell people is during trying times, sometimes the best come out of people. And during this whole time that I was helping Patricia in Washington, D.C., I kept seeing so many women organizations, the U.S. Women's Chamber of Commerce, Women Impacting Public Policy, NABO, which is National Association of Women Business Owners, and then WeBank, the largest, which is Women Business Enterprise National Council. They were all gun-ho on trying to get the government to pass something that should have been passed in the late 90s, but was overlooked during the Bush administration, and only, I guess, just because Bush had his hands full because of 9/11. But what happened was there should have been a women's procurement program. There was not. When you look at the way that the federal government awards contracts to small businesses, they're supposed to slice the pie for small business with 8 A's. Those are your small disadvantaged businesses. Women-owned small businesses get 5%, 8As get 5%, service-disabled veterans get 3%, and then your businesses located in HUBZone areas, historically underutilized business zone areas, get 3%. But the women-owned procurement program had not been a program at all. It was just a goal. So all of these women organizations that I mentioned were advocating. So I said, you know what? I'm going to jump the bandwagon. I'm a woman, and I also have 2 daughters. And I don't want my daughters to have to go through the difficult times that we're having to go through, because we didn't have a set-aside program at all.
Wow.
So I happened to be speaking in 2008 at an SBA event in Miami, Florida, where Small Business Administration asked me to speak. And there was a gentleman in the audience, and he worked for American Express, the credit card company.
Right.
He came up to me. He was there in their PR department and said, we'd like to talk to you about developing a program for American Express to help card members. And I'm like, what does American Express want to do with government?
Right.
It's a little weird. But anyway, a week later, they flew me to New York, sat in a huge boardroom with all of these people that I now had to explain why the federal government has a mandate of 23% must go to small business. And they were, but why? But why is there a mandate? But why? And I said, well, because it is the federal government's responsibility to help the backbone of America, which is small business, which is the economic engine of America. So I was explaining to them all the different parameters. And then, of course, it dawned on me what happened in 2008, 2007, 2008, 2009, the decline of the financial industry.
Yes.
So you had a lot of financial institutions that were having to restructure, restream their way of trying to capture that ideal card member. So we then created a program that was called Victory in Procurement together with American Express. We launched our first conference in 2009. It was at the Hyatt Regency in New York and Manhattan. And we had over 500 small businesses there. We had government officials from Department of Interior. I remember the SBA, and Susan Sabat, which was the president of American Express Open, and myself. And I will tell you, it was a privilege that now I was speaking as advisor of government contracting. I'm still running my own business. This was just one of my contracts.
Okay.
But to have the opportunity to have a giant brand like American Express now as a backing, obviously it's not little Lourdes Martin-Rosa out here preaching to the crowd.
Right.
So I decided to take advantage of the opportunity, and each time I spoke, and each time I was in front of any media syndication to talk about the importance of the awareness of the Women's Procurement Program.
Gotcha.
So then joined forces with Women Impacting Public Policy in 2009 and helped create and shape a program that was called Give Me 5, which was Give Me My 5%. And spoke all around the nation, trying to educate women on the importance of talking to their congressional leaders and their senators about trying to push the Women's Procurement Program. And in 2011, thank God, President Obama then made it into a law, and the Women's Procurement Program was born. So I'll never forget the date. It was February 4th, 2011. And he basically charged the SBA with a couple of months of getting their act together and creating this program. And they created it and launched it April 1st of 2011. I don't know if it was kind of funny that it was April Fool's Day, but I was super excited and happy. And it, started with a little bit of an embarrassment, because they started the Women's Procurement Program with caps. Women could not receive a set-aside program greater than $3.5 million. And I said, wait a second. There are women business owners like Patricia that own construction companies, that that it's greater than $3.5 million value of a contract.
Right.
What is this? So we had to advocate again and go to Congress and fight for our rights to be able to get larger contracts. Wow. And then it was passed again in May of 2013. They passed and they lifted the caps for the Women's Procurement Program. And by this time, I had already, established a great rapport with many contracting officials, many small business advocates within the federal government. And I remember his name, Kevin Boshears, which was the director of Small Business Office for Department of Homeland Security. And he told me, Lourdes, as soon as they lift the small business cap on women contracts, I will be the agency that puts out the largest contract set aside for women.
Nice.
And that he did. It was a $22 million contract for security training exercises for TSA, and it was awarded to 2 women.
Nice.
So 2 women business owners. So it was nice that I had the opportunity to have a giant brand behind me, and that really pushed the needle further than Lourdes Martin-Rosa with Government Business Solutions. So I was very, very excited to have that opportunity and make a little bit of history for the younger women in my daughters and for all the other younger women business owners that come down the way to make it easier for them to do business with the federal government.
Wow. That sounds like that was a journey.
Yeah, it was a journey, and it was, I can't tell you, it was fun, but it was a little bit teary-eyed sometimes when you would get some political leaders that would say, why should we allow women business owners to have a set-aside program when most women are beauty parlor owners and dry clean owners?
No.
And I literally, in a big meeting, I just turned around in a room of 200 women and I say, will any of those categories or industries please stand up? And not one of them stood up. There were owners of IT firms, staffing companies, construction firms, engineering, roofing. None of them were in those industries. So it just was a misconception, I think. I think they just didn't really get it. They hadn't really studied the industries that women had ownership today. So I don't blame them. I just think it was just a lack of knowledge.
We've had on the show probably more than half of our persons from the SB award winners have been women.
Yeah.
That we've had on our show. And we continue to have more and more women on the show. And I can appreciate you because I'm the same way when you said that you think it's a lack of understanding, because probably some really easy research would have shown different evidence, right, than just assuming that people were beauty parlor owners. But nevertheless, that's still an incredible story, an incredible journey. Now, you also in 2012 you served as small business programs expert with the White House Small Business Taskforce. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, that was exciting, actually. The SBA government contracting administrator, his name was John Shiraka, at the time, he saw me speaking and he said, Lourdes, I think you need to join President Obama's Small Business Task Force, which I was very impressed.
Yeah.
So, I would love to. So I had the opportunity to speak with Michael Blake, which was leading the efforts for the Obama Small Business Task Force, and spoke to them about the different certification programs in the Main Street way, because now I obtained my 8A certification in 2010, and was also actively seeking government contracts. I knew that the Women's Procurement Program was going to come down the pipe, so I said I also, as a human capital training company that I was performing as well, that was what was pretty much paying the bills.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
Because a lot of the advocating is done, for free. So
yeah,
you somehow have to keep the lights on.
Right,
so
right.
I was a staffing company in human capital and training, and also providing event planning. to the
Okay.
federal government.
Okay.
So I obtained my 8A certification in 2010. So then firsthand in 2012, I got to speak to Michael Blake and his task force about the importance of these programs, how it's making a difference to small business, and then how we should perfect and perhaps train our acquisition workforce within the federal government a little bit better. Because a lot of them didn't really know that the programs existed. I mean, they're contracting officers, they're trained on the federal acquisition rules and regulations, but small business is just a one-day course to the, I'm
Is
sure.
it? Yeah, you know what? That's
It's not, they have so many things on their plate that although it is a priority because they do have to set aside contracts to small business, they have to make sure that all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted and that everything abides by the federal acquisition rules, which is the Bible of government contracting.
Yes.
And they do have a big task. So we educated them and then kind of gave them Main Street ways of how we feel the program should be strengthened. There's always room for improvement.
Right.
And it was a joy. I got to work with them for a couple of months. I got to also work with Bibi Hidalgo, which used to run housing and urban development at the time, and then she came over to the Small Business Task Force. And then I asked them to join me on the speaker circuit for all of the events that we were hosting for American Express, Victory, and Procurement.
Okay.
And had them as keynote speakers, because I wanted everyone to see that this administration was very adamant about increasing small business contracting opportunities, which I could tell you it definitely was. And there were some nuggets that the previous administrations put together, but he took those nuggets and really put them to work.
Let me ask you this, because I remember I was in that same time frame doing government contracts. Isn't that the first time where they started actually doing the reporting for the agencies, the scorecards?
Yes. Well, the scorecard's always been there, but it wasn't as transparent.
Okay.
We would actually get a scorecard. Today is 2019. We would be receiving a scorecard now for 2017. I mean, that's how behind it was. But the nice thing was is they created a website that I loved, and it was called smallbusiness.data.gov.
Mm-hmm.
It allowed transparency so that we could see on the active to the day how agencies were performing on their small business and socioeconomic goals. So in other words, you could see the DOD, which is the giant gorilla in the room,
Yes.
the bulk of the contract, was doing about 20% small business. Yes, they could do a little better, but they're trying and so forth. And that website was shut down last year. So that was a huge disappointment. And I even talked to several congressional folks on the House Small Business Committee and on the Senate Small Business Committee, and they didn't even know it was shut down. Mm-hmm. The reason why it was shut down, Eric, it was because the funding, laxed. It was in a previous administration, and then this administration didn't fund it. That's it. It was just shut down. So now we're at the mercy of waiting to hear until the SBA does the report. But the nice thing is that this administration did keep the top 7 agencies reporting directly to the White House Small Business Task Force on a monthly basis. Okay. So that does continue. Okay. So the top 7 agencies do continue to report, and there still is ammunition out there, and there still are programs that are keeping us strong. Okay. And they are revamping the 8A certification program, women-owned program, and HUBZone program right now to make it even stronger.
Is that what they're doing with Tribe 8A?
That's Tribe 8A is for tribal, your Alaska Natives and your Native American. They are trying to cap it a little bit. I don't know if you know that they have unlimited sole source, but it was capped. Yes. It was capped at 20 million.
Right. Okay.
During the previous administration, there have been a couple of lifts and a couple of exceptions. So I think DOD has lifted themselves from that. I'm not so sure. But I always say, don't let these things, and don't let category management, don't let those ugly words, best in class, behoove you from trying to get business with the federal government. I grew my firm in the federal government when the Women's Procurement Program was not in place. I started my first contract with the federal government in 2011, January of 2011, as an 8A firm, and then got my first women-owned set-aside contract in 2014.
Wow,
then
congratulations.
Thank you. I really pushed myself to take advantage of the 9 years that I had in the 8A program, and I landed about $10.7 million in sole source contracts during that time.
Nice.
And I was very, very, I had a great team working with me, and they were very strong on keeping me focused to not what I love to do, which is advocate and educate and actually consult businesses, but what keeps the lights on, which is now our human capital services, our exercise training services, and our event planning. That was the core of what my business was. And the nice thing was, is American Express in 2013 asked us to run their events and to do events all across America. So here we were in 2013 all the way to 2018. I had the opportunity to visit 44 states and educate many small business owners of all types and shapes and sizes and industries and so forth on the importance of growing their business in the federal sector. I was thrown in front of Fox Business News. I was in CNN Money, MSNBC, and always tried to help small businesses understand that, look, you're speaking to someone that is doing it. You're speaking to a small business that is a walk the walk, talk the talk person. I am not talking to you as just a consultant that never ever held a government contract. I am an active government contractor myself. So I always say, if this Cuban immigrant from Miami could do it, you guys could do it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
So it was always, and I had, the joy and thank God that God actually blessed me with the brand of American Express, because without the giant brand of American Express, I wouldn't have been heard. And American Express did very, very well by it. The program is still alive today, and I am so happy to still continue to be part of it.
Wow. Something that you said earlier regarding when you first started working with Patricia and you took her to Washington. I've heard that from a couple of people. So, for people starting out, is that something that you recommend that they do, is visit Washington, or should they start the local?
I do, because, Eric, 82% of the contracts are signed and awarded out of DC area. So they call Beltway, which is Virginia, Maryland,
that's right,
and DC.
Yep.
So you're going to have to, at one time, get on a plane and go to Washington, DC, if you want to really expand and grow. And also, agencies have a significant want to engage with firms outside of the Beltway area, because imagine, they keep getting the same people knocking on the door over and over and over again. So when they see someone from Florida or they see someone from Texas, they're like, whoa, this is great. Innovation. They're bringing best practices from other states that I could incorporate in my agency. So some people don't think of it that way. They're like, oh, they're never going to choose me. I don't have an office in DC. No. They want to work with you. They're seeking to work with you. And I literally, Patricia was a little bit hesitant in the beginning. And I remember the first event I took her to, and I knew that Margot Dorfman with the U.S. Chamber, Women's Chamber of Commerce, put on some great events. And she had about 30 contracting officials there. And this one specifically was geared towards engineering and construction.
Okay. And
I helped Patricia prepare herself for that event. She was a little bit nervous and said, how do I talk to these people? How do they want to work with me?
Not the same Patricia we know.
Oh, yeah. That was back then.
Okay.
And literally, literally held her hand, sat down with her and said, just tell them what you do and how you could help them fulfill on their mission and goals. You know, study each agency's mission and goals before you go in. If you're selling medical supplies, you know you're not going to sit down with the Army Corps of Engineers because that's not what they purchase.
Right, definitely.
So you have to do a little bit of homework. You have to understand the agency's mission and goals and always stay on that track. Homeland Security is a great agency to always work with because I always say no political person wants to be the one to cut the budget to save the homeland. So think that.
Okay.
So it's always a good agency to work with. They're trying to be innovative. Cybersecurity is huge right now. Anyone in cyber, I encourage them to go try to work on any type of contract with Homeland Security and introduce themselves. But you have to understand the way the government works. They have small business specialists in each and every agency. So these are our small advocates. These are our arsenals within each one of the agencies. So Homeland Security, let's take them. Homeland Security now, if you slice it a little further, they have TSA, Customs and Border Protection, ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement, and so forth and so on. And they have a group of small business specialists in different categories. One would be for women-owned businesses, HUBZone businesses, veteran-owned businesses, aid aids, and so forth. Depending on your designation, you should speak with one of those. Then that's at the high level for Homeland Security. Bring it down to, I saw an opportunity in Customs and Border Protection that I think is right for me. Now they'll introduce you to that small business specialist within Customs and Border Protection. Those small business specialists are advocates. All they do all day long is trying to find small businesses to fulfill the agency's contracts, mission, and goals. These are the people you want to talk to. They have it very tough because they're always fighting with the big guys and the big boys and, not letting the small businesses in. So they are always constantly in communication with contracting officers, trying to make sure that they remember small business. Hey, can a small business do this contract? Is this available for a small business? So when Patricia and I went, she met with many small business specialists during that time.
Okay.
And once she left that first one and she met with about 30 or 40 folks, she was like, wow, this isn't as difficult as I thought. This is not, I feel so confident. I feel so great. And she noticed that there were other people in the room that were just like her.
Right.
Everyone is a small business that was at this or that. We all now started networking, speaking and engaging, learning about different CRMs that each one of us are using to help us all stay connected. What are you using for accounting? What are you using for this? And that networking at events like these is extremely powerful because it's nice to see that how other small businesses and those that are advocates and, allies in your same industry.
Right.
Patricia got to meet a couple of great companies, Amber Peoples being one with Athena Construction. She has her office in Maryland. And Patricia, to this day, still teams with her. So it's a nice way for businesses. We don't have all of the resources. And we shouldn't try to be an IBM or a Lockheed Martin. What we need to do is learn to team with each other. Learn to value each other's resources and then fulfill that agency's mission as a team. And that's the powerhouse of small business. When you work with other small businesses that have similar resources in your industry and way as a woman-owned small business company or just an 8A or a veteran or whatever it may be, but you have 2 or 3 teaming partners that have the same expertise or even greater than your larger counterparts. So I always encourage small businesses to team.
That's actually, people ask about that question. But before we touch on that, you talked about the different events in Washington. How would someone from Florida or California, how would they choose the events in which to attend?
I would say all of the events that the federal government puts on are free.
Right.
As a small business with limited means when you're first starting out,
Correct.
You want to be able to attend those free events because it could get a little crazy. You could go to some events that cost you as much as $1,500 to attend. So I would say go to the website. It's called fbo.gov, Federal Business Opportunities website. And all the way on the lower right-hand side, it will say Small Business Events. And you click there, and there are events that are focused either for those socioeconomic categories or for industries. So, for example, we held an event because now as event planners, we host many of these events within the federal agencies, and they've asked us to host them for them since they saw that we ran many of the American Express events and conferences. So I myself got a lot of contracts with the federal agencies. And it's funny, but we have been in situations where an agency will tell us, it is August, I have $62 million and I need to award to small business or I won't meet my goal. And they come to me and say, Lourdes, let's host an event targeted for firms, let's say in IT, staffing, architectural engineering, those categories, and let's host an event. And within a month, we put the event together on for them. We post it on FBO, and we limit it, let's say, to 50 firms. Those first 50 firms that get in there, guess what? They have a pretty good chance of winning a contract.
Nice.
And those opportunities are found on fbo.gov in the small business event sections in the lower right-hand corner.
Right.
It'll look just like a contract. It'll say, for example, USDA or United States Agency for International Development. We held a conference for them in May, and they posted that conference and say, please register. Those events are usually sold out within a day or two because obviously it's a limited and it's on site, usually at the agency location, and depending on the size. But those are very, very good events to go to.
Okay.
And then I would say book your flight, try to get a couple of meetings. And one thing that we don't do, Eric, that a lot of large corporations are champions in, is go visit your congressional or senator leader when you're there. Let them know what you're doing. If you grow in their constituent area, they look good. So let them know the difficulties or the barriers or perhaps your successes. Don't just go to them for small, with bad news.
Right.
And let them know what you're doing. In many cases, they may say, oh, that event over there, I'd like to maybe join you and go see how they do this. Now, who writes the budget and who approves the money is the politicals. So having them on your side is very, very good. So I always try to engage them and just say, I'm going to this cybersecurity event. I know that you're trying to champion a small business cybersecurity bill. This may be of interest to you. And just send them the link and just say, by the way, I'm going to be in the DC area. Just like to stop by and say hello. You may get to speak with them. You may get to speak with someone that's leading the effort for them. But all in all, it's always good to stop by and say hello.
That's a really great nugget. I was trying to take notes as you were speaking. That's a really great nugget. I hope that everyone out there listening to this definitely takes the opportunity to actually use that particular technique, because I was actually in DC last week at the HUBZone conference, and I've only been in DC 3 times, but like you said, when you go to an event at like the HUBZone conference, the director of the HUBZone program was there.
Yeah.
The SBA contractor compliance was in the room. I mean, they had a booth and you could go talk to these people, the director of small business for the Navy, all of these people that, you want to get access to were all in one room, and you could have set up one-to-one events with them.
Yeah.
So
and we're happy that, with the HUBZone, I sit on the board with the HUBZone Council,
Okay.
And we run their matchmaking events every year.
Okay.
This year we didn't get to do it because our flights were canceled because of Hurricane Dorian.
And, guess what? That happened to me, Lourdes. That happened. That happened to me. Yeah. And you know what I did? I actually went and flew out of Fort Myers.
Wow. I didn't even think about that. That would have been
Yes.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I changed. Yeah, because Fort Lauderdale was shut down, the airport, because of Dorian, and it was tough because the airline told us that because it wasn't here or whatever, they gave us some excuse, and we said, look, there's a hurricane coming. You don't need. I don't care what your advice is. If you look on the website, it says airport is closed until further notice.
Right.
And so they gave us a difficult time, but they eventually did reschedule us out of Fort Myers. And so that's how we made it. Yeah, that's how we made it. So that was good. Wow. So you would have been at the event otherwise.
Yes, I would have been at the event.
Okay.
I would have been at the event, and it was, I was talking to Shirley and Michelle,
yes,
which run the HUBZone program.
Yes,
and I was saying, oh my God, we were really trying to get out there, but I never thought of Fort Myers. It was that's a great thing. I mean, Rob Wong, which is the government contracting administrator, he was texting me, where are you?
Oh, wow. Yeah, Rob.
We said we weren't able to make it.
Wow,
that is a great event, a great organization, not only for HUBZone firms, but for firms of all alike. Shirley Bailey and Michelle put on that event every year, and it is a lot of sweat that goes into that event.
Yes.
And they make sure that, and I will tell you that the federal agencies respect that event and understand the importance of it, and many of them do happy to be part of it and to be part of the board, because they're such strong advocates for HUBZone firms and small businesses alike.
They are. Yes.
It's a very good organization.
Right. No, I tell people, Michelle, they're very passionate about what they do. They are extremely passionate, and I see it. I see they fight for like what you did. They fight for legislative change and policies, and so I get firsthand to see that, and so it was really wonderful. And we'll talk afterwards about kind of what we did and where we helped at as well.
One thing I do want to get in, Eric, is the importance of using the 3 websites, that businesses need to be aware of in order to help grow their company. So I don't know if you could tap into that.
Let's talk about it.
Okay.
Tell us about it.
So there are 3 websites when you're new to government contracting that I think are very, very advantageous to a small business. After you go in and you register yourself with SAM, System for Award Management, and build your dynamic small business profile, which is also called SBA profile page, you want to be able to start doing your market research, and you want to be able to start preparing yourself as a small business. There are 3 websites that are key to helping a business understand government contracting, understand where the government is, where they're going in their purchases, how they're purchasing, what they're purchasing for, and how they're purchasing, whether it be small or large, and also who are the key players in your industry. The three websites that are very, very important are learning future purchases to be able to help create a capture plan and a marketing plan. The other one is how are they purchasing it and for how much. You could find out how much they're actually purchasing. And the other one is the history of purchases. Who are the key players, whether they be small or large, in your industry? So let's start with the first one. The first one is procurement forecast. The SBA in February of 2013 mandated every agency that they must have a procurement forecast, and that the forecast must be put on their website by October of their fiscal year. So let's say, for example, I'm Homeland Security. I've already submitted to the Office of Management and Budget all of the purchases that I need to make, from chairs to zippers to uniforms to services to everything. And all of my future purchases are now, and they live live on my website, and it's called Procurement Forecast. Now, in this Procurement Forecast, it basically will let me know whether it be Q1, Q2, 3, or 4, when they're going to purchase it, a brief description of the product or service that they're going to purchase, the socioeconomic category, whether it be small, full and open, which means large corporations, or designated 8A HUBZone women-owned or service-disabled veteran. Now you have something that you don't have anywhere else, which is the contact information. Sometimes they include email and phone number, or just email, of the contracting officer. Now this person is the gatekeeper. So make sure that if you're going to reach out to them, your capability statement should match the requirements of that procurement forecast. So the procurement forecast, basically every agency has one, and it lets you know what they're going to be purchasing and what they're going to purchase. So now we know where we're going to go and how we're going to create that pipeline and capture plan. Now you're going to go to a website that's called the GSA Advantage website, gsaadvantage.gsa.gov. Here you have approved GSA schedule holders, and I do not encourage small businesses that are new to government contracting to become GSA schedule holders. But however, you can go in there, and if you see that human capital services staffing, and you'll see about a couple of thousand firms that are in there in different categories, small business and large, and different socioeconomic categories. You could download their pricing catalog. Now you have approved pricing that the government has said you have the green light to bill us at this cost. That's for almost every single industry, whether it be paper clips, all the way to engineering services, facility services, janitorial, every single type. Now you're arming yourself with the cost that the federal government has approved. Okay. In some cases, people look at these and say, wow, that's a lot of money. I could definitely do that for less.
Right, right.
Now remember, these are fully burdened rates. These include your travel. These include, your general and administrative costs. So as business owners, you have to understand that you have to include those in your hourly rates when you're billing the government.
Right, okay.
So now you're armed with how much, you're armed with when they're going to purchase, you're armed with how much they're going to purchase it for, you're also armed with how they're going to purchase. So there's the third website I always encourage them to go on is fbo.gov, which is Federal Business Opportunity website. Sign on to fbo.gov to receive automatic bid notifications. Now, don't press all like I did in the beginning, because you're going to get thousands of emails on a daily basis. I said, I want to know everything.
I laugh because that's what everyone does, right?
Of course, that's what everybody does.
Everyone says,
and
look,
you'll be
I could do this. Yeah.
With 100,000 emails a day. So in fbo.gov, you could basically go to advanced search, and you can now, make it so that you could receive automatic bid notifications in your particular industry or your NAICS code category, your North American Industry Classification category. So you could go in there and receive those automatic bids. So now you have future purchases, how much the government buys your products and services for, and then active purchases. And I'll leave you with the last one, which is my favorite. If you're an 8A firm out there, I would always, always go after sources sought notices. Sources sought, or RFIs, requests for information, are agencies that are doing what? Exactly trying to find small businesses like us. They are trying to do market research to see if there are small businesses out there that can perform on their contract duties. So in some cases, I have many allies in my industry. I'll call someone up and I'll say, hey, did you see this sources sought notice? And I send them over the link, and I said, you respond as a woman, I'm going to respond as a woman. Now they have the power of two, which all they need is just two active and capable businesses to be able to set it aside, women-owned. So that is the way to be able to start shaping a contract before it's posted. Now remember, a sources sought notice and an RFI is not an active solicitation. So a contracting officer you could pick up the phone and call them or email them and say, hey, is this a repeat or is this a new contract? Are you looking to award this under the $4 million or $6 million threshold of the 8A sole source direct award? In some cases, they say, oh, we would love to work with an 8A. Bingo. Now you have an opportunity to work with a sole source directly with the contracting official and begin to shape that solicitation for you. That's how I won $10.7 million in the federal industry as an 8A, and I highly encourage businesses to do that. I love source of stock notices because you could actually shape the contract.
Right. And we talk about source of stock notices, but what you said that I love was pick up the phone, call an ally, make them aware of it so they can also respond.
Exactly.
And I think that's where a lot of people are falling short, or they see that person as competition.
Right. And as small businesses, like I said, we're not an IBM, we're not a Deloitte, we're not a Boeing, so you can't do everything. But what we can do is join together, and then we could do everything. You know, I am a specialist in event planning and conferences for small business and a small business expert. I proudly sit with the SBA in a couple of roundtables with them in the DC level. But I always turn to PR, social media that I am not, and I ask them to join me on my contract. So I don't want to be an expert. I can't afford to have someone sitting there just earning an income until the opportunity arises.
Right.
We can't afford to have a specialist sitting there earning an income until the opportunity arises. That's why I say share your resources and team with other small businesses. And you get to meet other small businesses by going to events like the ones I've been mentioning. The HUBZone Council, another great event that's coming up right now is the Society of American Military Engineers. Anyone in professional services and construction services should definitely go to this event. Not sure where it's going to be this year, but I always speak at the event. It's usually in November, early December, but it is a great place to go and network and join forces. Look, if you're asked to do a contract across the nation, it's better to have a teaming partner on the West Coast than to have to get on a plane and travel out there each time there's an opportunity.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
I always encourage people to team.
Definitely. Wow. Another question that people ask me often is, how do you choose the right teaming partner?
Well, that's interesting because now that I've been doing this for about 20 years, I kind of get the vibe and the feel of a good teaming partner when I meet and talk to them after a while. And you get to view their website. You get to look at their capability statements. Another great website for businesses to go to is usaspending.gov. You could literally put in the firm's name there and you could look at their past performance with the federal government. It's all transparent. But a nice thing is that I ask around. I ask contracting officials. I ask small business specialists. And many times they'll tell you, oh, this person's here all the time. I've seen them at 3 or 4 events. They're very active.
Okay.
Those are the type of teaming partners you want.
Gotcha. Okay. So what I'm hearing is that's the kind of person that you should also be.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Government contracting is everyone. They say, oh, that's so great. You're a business owner. You must have a lot of free time. Like, never. I work Saturdays, Sundays, 3 a.m. To make a proposal. You basically are working 24/7. I mean, you do spend some time with family and friends and vacation, but even when I'm on vacation, I still take my laptop, still have to review my emails, still go through
definitely.
everything.
No, I know. In 2017, you partnered with the LEAD program. Do you want to talk about that?
Oh, the LEAD program actually is a phenomenal nonprofit organization. Now, following on what many of the small business specialists have been telling me for the last 10 to 15 years is if we only had a place where we could go to, where we could find these contract-ready small businesses and not have to go through the educational, are you registered in FAM? Should you seek certification?
Right.
So the LEAD program was born based on the lack of contract-ready firms that kept approaching themselves to government officials.
Right.
And the LEAD program actually is a nonprofit 501c3, and we work with the HUBZone Council, with Gov Contract Pros, with the SBA, and we actually have a strategic alliance that we signed with the SBA, so we're very, very excited about that. I'm the chairperson of the LEAD program, and basically taking many of the key elements that I brought into the American Express Open for Government Contracting program, and also the Victory in Procurement, and working with other large corporations to try and get them engaged in working with small businesses.
Okay.
But also our Gov leaders go through a 3-day rigorous boot camp training, and it's a government contracts ready boot camp. This 3-day boot camp training basically gets you ready to be able to engage with government officials, learn the contracting landscape, learn how to navigate it, and also how to position yourself to win government contracts quickly.
Okay.
And I'll let you say this, since we've been doing the boot camp training, 80% of our businesses have received a contract within 6 months.
Nice.
So I'm so excited. And I see them. It's so funny, Eric. I saw, for example, we just hosted an event in May for USAID. And one of the ladies that attended our boot camp, she does human capital services, and she tapped me on the shoulder and said, Lourdes, thank you so much for encouraging me to do the government contract training boot camp with Gov leaders, because I landed a contract as an 8A, and I never had landed one had it not been for what I learned. So that was very, very good and heartwarming for me, because she learned everything. She says, I keep that training book by me all the time, and I always refer to it before I talk to a contracting official.
Nice. That's
So
wonderful.
very proud to be part of the LEAD program and the Gov leaders. And the Gov leaders are actually an initiative where we're putting these Gov leaders in front of government contracting officials, and they're winning contracts quicker because they already have all their ducks in a row and everything prepared for an agency before they go see them.
Nice. We're running out of time. Why do you believe it is important for America to get it right with the small businesses in the future?
Well, I would tell you that if you look at the statistics, either 99% of the businesses in America are small business. What a lot of people don't know is that 89% of those businesses have 6 employees or less, which is the majority of many of us. So when people say I'm too small to do business with the federal government, don't think that way. You know, I was the body of 2 people when I got my first $2.5 million contract, and quickly ramped up to get funding to be able to hire as many people as I could to fulfill on that contract. But the importance is that the federal government understands that small businesses are the economic engine, and that they do have to award contracts to small businesses. Look, because of the ripple effects of what the past administrations have done, we've been able to meet the 23% small business goal 2 years in a row. And we met the women-owned 5% goal in 2013, and I was very, very humbled that I received an award from the White House advisor on small business, which is Valerie Jarrett at the time, for my advocacy with women-owned businesses. And my advocacy still continues, and that's why I love to work with the LEAD program, because giving back everything that I learned is just makes me feel stronger and better when other businesses say that they do well. But the federal government is a great customer to have. It pays every 15 days, so what better cash flow than that? And also it's one that's not going to bounce checks and is recession-proof. So I think that many businesses should always explore to grow their business with the federal government.
Wow. Any final words for everyone out there?
You could do it. Don't think that you can't. It is a tough nut to crack, but with the right steps and the right training, I would encourage many, many business owners to take the government contract ready boot camp, because you leave with all of the ammunition, and they make you roll up your sleeves and you do it yourself. No one's going to do it for you. There is no magic sales rep that you're going to hire that's going to get you $100 million. And we as business owners have to do it ourselves. And it's also rewarding because it's to say you're part of history. You're part of making that agency better. So if you go in with that mindset of actually becoming a problem solver, it's great for the agency and good for you as well.
Well, Lourdes, we're definitely going to have on our show notes page, all of the information available, the links to your sites, the links to your recommendations, the website, and any contact information that you would like for us to share as well. We will have that in the show notes page from this episode. I'd like to thank you so much for coming on today. It was certainly a pleasure.
Thank you.
And you definitely exceeded expectations.
Oh, thank you, Eric. My pleasure. Thank you. Anytime.
No. Thank you so much for being on. We definitely appreciate having you. And I know that the people listening to this are going to get a ton of information, a ton of nuggets that they can take back and put to practice and start working with right away.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you. My pleasure. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now,
how did you enjoy that episode today? Lourdes has been helping people in our space for many, many years. In fact, when she founded her company GBS in 2003, the intent was on providing guidance, education, and training to thousands of entrepreneurs and small businesses on the importance of growing their business with government contracting. Lourdes has helped create valuable training resources and guides that offer Main Street shortcuts to all small business owners, ranging from the novice to the more experienced government contractor wanting to explore other methods of winning government contracts. For more information about Lourdes, her training programs, and her advocacy work, visit the show notes page at www.govcongiants.com/podcast.